know you're probably thinking, what in the world are you doing standing out in the middle of this barren looking field today of all days? Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm over here at Bunce Farms today, and I drive by this field as probably most people do when they're going to and from work or doing whatever they do. And I feel like lately God's been pecking me on the shoulder to talk about, of all things, this field. Now, as you well know, David takes really good care of this field, and when it is planted and when it is watered, and it's got some fertilizer, man, this field grows, it is green, it's beautiful, and it grows abundantly, produces a lot of fruit. But when you look at it today, you really wouldn't think it does a whole lot of that, do you? Well, I kind of was thinking about this field in the spiritual sense and wondering, well, how is this a picture of our spiritual lives? And you may say, well, I don't really get it, Pastor, what are you talking about? Well, what I'm talking about is that when we, as a new believer in Christ, even an older believer in Christ, when we are being fed spiritually and when we are producing fruit, we can look like that field that David plants here. It looks good, everything's green, it's beautiful. But if we're not being fed, if we're not producing that if we're not getting nourished like we're supposed to, then we can very easily look like this. The Bible talks about in the book of Job, chapter 8, verses 11 to 13, it says this: can papyrus grow tall where there is no marsh? Can reeds thrive without water? While still growing and uncut, they wither more quickly than grass. Such is the destiny of all who forget God. So perishes the hope of the godless. God may say, now what in the world does that mean, Pastor? Well, what it means basically is this, from a spiritual standpoint, is that if you don't take care of your garden, it's going to die. Now, we all know if we have a plant or maybe a little garden in our own backyard, that if we don't water those plants, if we don't give them fertilizer, if we don't make sure they have enough sun, what's going to happen to those plants is that they're going to die. Now, the Bible does have an answer for that, and that answer is found in Jesus. Jesus can and will meet our spiritual needs when we let him. The Bible also says in John 15:4, remain in me and I will remain in you, for a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Now you can say, well, Pastor, what in the world does that mean? What it means is this, is that when you're connected to Jesus, you're going to bear fruit. In other words, you know, when we're getting nourishment, we're going to live. When we don't get nourishment, we're going to die. Now, I know a lot of people can say when it comes to church, they have a lot of reasons to not be in church, and I'm saying that in a general sense. It's really easy to come up with things like, well, I've got to take care of that this week, and I've got to take care of this, and this has come up, I got to go do that. And I get it, I really do. I've been there myself. But one of the worst excuses that you can give about coming to church, or not coming to church, I mean, is I don't really need to be there because I can take care of myself. You see, that's a really dangerous ground to be on. Excuse me. You see, the reason is that the Bible talks a whole lot about our spiritual lives being like a garden. If we don't take care of the garden, it's not going to thrive. Which leads to a spiritual principle that I wanted to share with you today. And I think that's why God's been pecking on my shoulders to say this. That principle is this: if you want your garden to grow, you got to take care of it. So I encourage you this Sunday, if you're not a member of Magnolia, if you're watching this from somewhere else, I encourage you to be a part of your church. Go to church. Go to your local gospel preaching, Bible believing church, and I believe that there you're going to find what you need for your garden to grow. And not only grow, but to thrive. And I wanted to close out with this last verse, John 15:8. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. I pray that you will bring great glory to your Father this weekend as well. God bless.